Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Stranger Things, Season 2, Episode 2, Trick or Treat Freak. So, overall, I would say this is a good episode. Like, Stranger Things in general is a great series, and it's really fun. But I wouldn't say this is one of the better episodes. I think it's a little bit slower than the last season. We're still getting a lot of character development because we still have like the 10 main characters from the last season, plus we have a handful of new characters, and we're still learning all of them. So not a lot happens, but a lot of character development happens. So, from the very beginning, it's actually kind of a flashback to the last season where we see after 11 has her encounter with the Demogorgon, she wakes up in the Upside Down. And so, it's a direct connection to the last season. And she finds all of these little portals, and she ends up kind of using her powers and creating a bigger portal and kind of crossing through it and coming back into our world and back into the school. So now, like in the last season, we knew Hopper was leaving food for her, but we didn't know why or anything. Well, now we know she is in our world. So that still kind of makes that whole scenario a little bit odd. And we know that 11 is now living with Hopper, so we see a lot of that with the two of them talking about how it's compromising, and she wants to go out trick-or-treating because presumably she's locked in this cabin, and she wants to go she's dressed as a ghost, which is very E.T.-like. When the first time I saw it, that's what it reminded me of. And so Hopper's like, no, like bad people are still after you. You're staying here. And so he talks about compromise and how he'll be home early and stuff like that. Meanwhile, we start to see more of Will, who I'm super happy for. We didn't see a whole lot of the actual Will last season. It's mostly through flashbacks. So to see him in this season kind of makes me happy. And Joyce being the overprotective mother, where he's not in bed. Where is she? Where is he? And she starts freaking out, and he's just in the bathroom doing his business. And he's like, what do you want? And I really like that. She finds a sketch of the giant monster that we saw him see, where it took up half the city. It was into the clouds. So we see a little bit more of that. And then finally, it is Halloween episode, go figure by the title, and the boys are dressed as the Ghostbusters, which I loved because, this episode takes place in 1984, the movie had just come out, so it's super popular, which I also love the connection between the boys being dressed as Ghostbusters and 11 wanted to go out dressed as a ghost, so I think that's a great connection right there. I love to play the race card in this episode where Lucas and Mike both want to play Venkman and neither one of them wants to be Winston, and Mike is like, you have to be Winston, and Lucas is like, why, because I'm black? And Mike's like, that's not what I said, and then they just go at it, and it's kind of great because you can see four boys of this time having that type of a conversation, and I really enjoyed it. And then he's like, Winston's not that bad. Okay, then you be Winston. And nobody wants to be Winston, which I don't know. I thought Winston was great, but whatever. So I think that was kind of a fun little scene. There was kind of a weird, I don't know how to feel about the scene where nobody else is in costume. It was great storytelling, and it leads to some really great, parts of this episode, but I also found it really unrealistic, where, it's a middle school, or elementary school, or even high school. Everybody dresses up for Halloween. That's just kind of a thing. And even Dustin's like, why is nobody else dressed up? This is odd. And they even comment on how odd it is, but they don't give any explanation. Maybe the teachers had announced that nobody was allowed to dress up this year, and the boys missed that memo or something. But yeah, every year for me growing up, people always dressed up. So it was really fun to watch it in the episode, but out of everything, the scary monsters and telekinetic powers and everything, that's what bothered me for being unrealistic. I don't know. It's me. What do you expect? We start to see some more of Dr. Owens, clearly being more of an antagonistic type villain character. Although we haven't seen him do anything, you can tell just by the build-up that that's who he's going to be by sending people through the portal. Steve and Nancy have some conversations about Barb, which is, again, some more development that, again, I don't get the whole big deal about Barb. I don't know, I just don't get it. I love seeing Lucas and Dustin try to talk to Max about like just this love interest, which is kind of fun because I mean this is a show about like teenage boys, and it's kind of it makes sense that it's going to be part of the series. We see more of the farmers and how their fields are being poisoned. We learn a little bit more about the new guy. We saw him in the last episode, but we didn't get anything about him, just that he was a badass. Well, it turns out that he and Max are actually siblings, presumably, and that his name is Billy. So once again, we're starting to get more information on him, and he is batshit crazy because he actually tries to run over Mike, Dustin, and Lucas, and which Will's not there, which I found super interesting. So he tries to run over the three boys, and Max like jerks the wheel over to save them at the last minute. So I think that's super interesting. It's a new character and he's insane. So I like that, and we learn more about him as it continues. We see how poisoned the farms are, that this is not just two farmers fighting, but something major is going on, and that all the farmers are having issues and all of their fields are dying. And Hopper's like, let's trace this back, and he even starts going into the woods. We see Bob and Joyce dressing up for Halloween. Bob is dressed as Dracula, which is kind of fun. Like, Sean Astin's just a great character. But I love how Winona Ryder was actually in the Dracula movie, so I think that's a little bit of a shout out to that. It kind of bothered me that none of the characters knew who the Ghostbusters were, where she's like, oh, you're exterminators. I mean, this movie took place in 1984, and granted, I was not alive yet, but Ghostbusters was a big hit. Like, I feel like more people would know what's going on. And then Max joins the crew after feeling guilty that Billy almost ran them over, and she's dressed as Mike Myers from Halloween, so I thought that was kind of great. Hopper starts running late, even though he promised 11 he would be there early, and he tries to buy some poor little kid's Halloween candy. It was kind of a sweet moment. We see more scenes of Will in the Upside Down and having flashbacks. Steve and Nancy have a huge fight at a party, and Jonathan kind of saves the day where he brings Nancy home. So once again, we're kind of seeing that love triangle. We have a love triangle with Dustin, Lucas, and Max, and we're continuing the love triangle between Jonathan, Steve, and Nancy. So lots of love going on in the air. A real heart-to-heart talk between Mike and Will about like what it's like being stuck between our world and the Upside Down. Which, I don't know, Will and Mike just seem to have this connection going on. Like, I don't know if there's more to it than that, or if they're just best friends, but I like it. I think it makes sense that the two of them are best friends. And then the kind of obligated scene where we got to hook us into the next episode. Dustin looks in the garbage can and something is alive in the garbage can. Is it a possum? Is it a raccoon? Who knows what it is? I do, because I've already seen the next episode, but we'll get there next time. So overall, I would say it's a good episode. Not as great as the last season, but it is a good episode, and I'm still having a lot of fun. So if you guys have seen this one, go ahead, let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you guys next time for the Polywog.